tram bridge. Woo! Woo! Welcome on board the Ducati. Took me a while to get that camera, stick it on my helmet and make a video for you. In all honesty, I have been sort of hiding this bike from everyone. I have a very sweet, very personal story with this bike and how it all happened for me, and therefore I'm quite protective of this whole experience I'm having here. And also I was so excited to buy this bike. I was so thrilled, and then I shared a photo of it saying, you know, I'm so over the moon, and 99% of people have been so sweet and so supportive and so excited for me, and it means a lot to be able to share this with so many people. But that 1%, that bloody 1% that decided to tell me what is wrong with my bike, I must say I didn't enjoy that. It's not that it upset me deeply, it's just it felt like it could potentially spoil my joy a little bit. Oh, you should really stick a proper exhaust on it, and tall tidy looks shit without. And actually I disagree on both counts. The exhaust, I think it's beautiful. The stock exhaust is stunning on this bike. I really like that there's two cans, and the only aftermarket available at the moment is a single can, and I don't like it. It doesn't look very nice, so I don't see the point of spending £2,500 on the exhaust that won't improve the looks and it will improve the performance by mere 4 horsepower. I just can't justify spending that much money on it. Now the tail tidy is almost £200. What are we doing here? And I actually don't feel the desperate need for it either. On sports bikes, it just screams for a tail tidy. On this, I feel it's alright with the long tail. So again, I'm not in a desperate rush. And even if I were, I'm sorry, but just after you bought a new bike is not the time to be spending money on other stuff. It's an expensive bike I just bought. I can't afford to just throw a lot of extras on it now. So anyway, that 1% of people who were telling me what I should get for the bike and that it's not a proper bike until I get this and that, they probably didn't mean to spoil it for me, but I didn't like it, and I decided to make myself unavailable to these comments, and I decided not to make a video and just enjoy my honeymoon phase with the bike and getting to know each other and just riding it, running it in. I've run it in now, and it's been incredible fun. How gorgeous is this road. Like, I've never done this to anyone. When people buy new bikes or buy old bikes that are new to them, I say congratulations, thrilled for you. The nosiest question I've ever asked was, what are your plans for the bike? I do that sometimes. And by asking this, I'm asking more about whether you plan to do track days on it, or go on a tour, or stick it in your dining room. Like, that's what I mean. I'd never tell someone, oh, you should really buy this or that for your bike. I don't know. I think it's actually quite rude, I think. It's such a personal thing, motorbike. It's just for me, literally, just for me. And when you buy yours, it's just for you. And how would I know what you need on your bike? I don't know. I don't care as well. So yeah, I made myself unavailable to annoying comments and didn't do a video. Instead, I was riding without a camera, having fun. And let me tell you, this bike, it really is bucket loads of fun. I've run it in now. I've done, how many miles have I done actually? 940 miles. It's been such a joy. I've had a lot of questions about how I'm getting on with it. You know, this whole Ducati is made of butter. How bad is it? I have zero complaints. So far, absolutely flawless. This whole Ducati thing, I must say, was a bit of a surprise to me. Where people now treat me a little different. Like, how can I explain this? For example, my best friend's husband, he rides bikes. Sometimes, yeah, when I'm there, he will show me what he's got at the moment, and we'll chat a little bit. It's always been a minimal interaction. I went over there and I said I'm buying a Ducati, and he said, oh, now that you're gonna have a proper bike, we should go for a ride. And he invited me for a ride. Never before has he invited me for a ride. And now suddenly, oh, you've got a proper bike now, we should go for a ride. Well, how is this more proper than my BMW? It's not. But yeah, some people take me more seriously now. Some people think I'm going through midlife crisis, and I don't really mind what anyone thinks. I'm just having fun. I love this bike. It does things to my soul. It's the most be in the moment motorcycle I've ever ridden. The day I first have ridden the Hypermotard was just a really bad day for me. Yeah, so I guess that's the story with the bike. It was 2 years ago. I was booked to work with Ducati Alton at their stand at the bike festival in Goodwood. And to work at the stand, of course, they wanted me to be familiar with the whole range of bikes that they sell. So what we did is we booked 2 days for me to come to Ducati Alton. On day one, I was there with a photographer, Will Collins, fantastic guy, very talented as well. Thank you! Thank you. So on day one, he was taking photos of me on the bikes, and then on day two, I was supposed to be riding them all, familiarizing myself with them, and then filming reviews, of course. So on day one, we did the photo shoot, and then in the evening, we were sat in a pub with Will, chatting, and he asked me how was life, how were things. I know Will quite well. He's a good friend of mine, and I told him that everything was going really well. There was only one thing that was upsetting me at the time, which was my son's passport expired a few months prior to that day, and I need Alex's father to give me a written permission confirmed by a solicitor in order to apply for a new passport. And he was being difficult about it. So the passport expired. I couldn't take Alex. I couldn't book any holidays with Alex for the summer. And the summer was fast approaching. And as we were sat there, I said to Will, I really hope nothing bad happens in Poland now, because it's the first time in many years that I won't be able to just jump on a plane and go there immediately. And as we were talking about this, my phone was ringing. It was my sister. And I didn't answer because I didn't want to be rude to Will. But later that evening, when I called home, my brother told me that my dad was diagnosed with cancer and had 6 months to live. That's how I found out. And actually my worst fear became a reality. My favorite spot. So I couldn't go to Poland. I was devastated. I wanted to jump on a plane and go. I couldn't. Didn't have a passport for Alex. I decided to go back to work the next day, go back to Ducati and finish what I started. So that's what I did. The next day I went back to Ducati Alton with a plan to ride all the bikes. I left the Hypermotard for last because I was dreading it. On paper, this bike was a disaster for me. It's far too tall, taller than anything I've ever attempted. It seemed too torquey, too loud, too red. I don't like red bikes, guys. I actually don't like red bikes. I didn't think I would enjoy it, and I left it for last. And every video that I filmed that day, you can see on my face that something's not quite right. This is why I haven't edited them yet, and I haven't uploaded them yet, because I'm not ready to go back to those videos. But when I've ridden that Hypermotard that day, where I was devastated, so sad, that bike made me laugh. That bike made me giggle, made me forget for a second, and oh boy, did I need that then. And it was just something wonderful. I'll never forget that feeling, because all the other bikes I was just sort of riding like a robot, like I was thinking about what I had to check. I check the brakes, check the acceleration, check the handling, see what the bike is like, so I can then describe it well to people when they ask me about it. And I just sort of did that on like an autopilot. But when I rode a Hypermotard, it took that pain away for a little bit, and it was incredible. And that's how I fell in love with the bike. It made me happy when I was inconsolable. Fast forward 2 years, we spent a year with my dad. I stepped back from this whole life a little bit. We were lucky to have 12 months instead of 6, which I really cherished. But I did lose him. I'm not coping with it at all. Don't ask me about it. I refuse to even think about it. I can't. I'm stuck in the disbelief phase. I suddenly found myself just very, very unhappy. Christmas was horrific. I was so lonely. I just wanted someone to come and hug me all the time. I decided at some point that I need to do something to get out of this mood, because it started affecting my life. It started affecting my health. My asthma has been wild for months now. So I found this charity in Romsey, a wonderful charity, Jane's Scarf. If you or someone you love is affected by cancer, this charity is incredible. They offer counseling, they offer aromatherapy, massages. If you don't want to talk about it, you can just go for a little treatment and relax. They help with the haircuts and all sorts. It's an incredible charity. I walked in there one day and I asked them for help, and they offered me counseling. Now, I don't really believe in counseling, but I thought I'd try. When I have a problem, I either focus on solving it, and if it's not something I can solve, then I focus on distracting myself from it. Talking about my dad being gone, I just didn't see how this could help, but I thought I'll try. So I tried. The first session was quite nice, because I got to talk about my dad first time in so many months, because I just avoid the whole subject altogether. And that first session gave me hope that things will improve. But then the second session came, and that second session left me very upset. That therapist asked me questions like, why do I miss my dad? What were the most wonderful things about him? That just made me realize how much I missed him, and that was hard. So I didn't like it. Took me a whole week to get back on my feet after that session, and then there was another session and another session, and it just all left me heartbroken. The whole winter I avoided riding my bike, because whatever I did, whatever I tried to do to be happy, I failed, and I had this sadness in my heart, and I was worried that if I tried to ride my bike, I won't be able to enjoy it, so I avoided it altogether. But one day I decided, let's try and go for a ride, and so I did. I took my HP4 out, and in an hour that bike did more for me than weeks and weeks of that therapy did. I just felt happy again. So I went home. I cancelled therapy. I explained them that it just wasn't working for me, and I called Ducati, told them I'm thinking about buying the SP. I always had my eye on the SP, but the previous SP was so tall and wide, and I couldn't manage that. Boys from Ducati Alton said, come and try the new SP for size, because it's more narrow, so it feels more manageable. You might be okay. And I went and I tried it for size, and I was okay. And so I bought it. I thought, should I do it? Should I not do it? I thought, let's try and do it. And it all just fell into place, where nothing in my life ever falls into place. It's always blood, sweat and tears and hard work, and nothing's working out, and I think about giving up a million times. But with this bike, it just worked out, and so quickly as well. And it continued to do that, where I kept looking for signs not to buy the bike. Am I being silly? Am I being ridiculous? Am I being extravagant? it all just happened. And I want to believe it was my dad looking after me and trying to make sure I learn to smile again. So I got this bike, and I'm learning to be happy again with this hole in my heart, this pain that is, oh, it sucks. And that's another reason why I didn't want to then make a video and show the bike and someone to criticize my bike that means so much to me. Anyone who's ever been in that place in their life where they couldn't be happy, they didn't know how to be happy, once you find something that gives you the smile and gives you the happiness, you become very precious of it and very protective of it. So that's my hyper story. Which I really hope you don't think it's a sad story. It's a happy story for me. It's a very happy story for me. It's about how I found my happiness when I was inconsolable. And I'm you know, a few months later, I can say that I don't regret buying this bike. I'm so happy that I did. It's been a wonderful decision. If you're sad or if you're struggling with your emotions, your feelings, but you do have a bike in the garage that you haven't ridden in a long time, I suggest that you make yourself take it out for a ride. Bikes make me so happy. They always make me feel better. They always do. You know how people say if you're not feeling great, go for a walk or open the window and get some fresh air. Going for a bike ride is like going for a walk without having to walk. You have all this fresh air forced into your lungs. I don't know, I always just feel energized and so much better after a bike ride. It's not an exaggeration when we talk about bikes and we say that they make us happy. They really do. Anyway, so here's my hyper story.